Get rid of that. Get rid of that.
Just a second.
You love 20 billion things.
I what now?
Yeah. I said, do you like 20 billion things?
Wow. Okay, the stream is live.
Well,
I
hi
gotta,
then.
I gotta take care of a couple of things. Those don't worry too much yet.
I enjoy the cheese. Ink.
So we are in the setup phase here, folks. Oh, hey, CSA. Wow, somebody just noticed it was coming up, I guess. Let's see. Let me throw the link out. I'm gonna do the usual link sharing shit.
Launching.
You're launching.
I'm a launch in my lawn chair.
Why would you launch your lawn chair? That doesn't make any sense.
That's what it always sounded like to me.
It does kind of
When I was
sound
playing
like Metal Slug. Yeah.
Oh, let's see, ladies and gentlemen. What are we doing today?
Well, we're gonna be playing some Guild Wars 2, obviously.
My God, you madman!
Ha ha ha.
Okay, go on.
But we're also going to have a discussion similar to our prior one, but a little bit more focused on just what the fuck the deal is with 5th edition.
You mean some of the side effects?
Well,
of
some of the side effects, but also, you know, what has really gone down with the setting and the mechanics itself, because fucking seriously. Hey, Mercurial, how you doing, dude?
We're only making things better by disregarding those rules.
We're gonna be getting started here any minute. I guess we could work on the North some more, frankly. There's other stuff we could do, but I don't know if you got other characters you want to work on.
What level is your Norn?
68, same as last time we worked on her.
Damn it, woman. You need to be 69.
You need to stop that nonsense.
So we make jokes.
Oh, God. Those are tired jokes.
I don't care. They're reliable.
Those were tired jokes years ago. Phoenix, hey, good to see you.
And people continue to make them. Hello, Phoenix. 20 billion and Mr. Nord of Emporial. How are you?
Alright,
why am I in this frozen hellhole?
Because that's the last place we were.
Dang it.
Where the fuck else would you be? This is where we left off.
I should be in a burning sandy hellhole.
No, we're not in that expansion yet.
Well, you're not.
We're not if I'm not, and you're working with me. That's kind of a side effect of the whole process.
Some days.
So, let's get your starting point while we get our shit straight here.
You mean why I'm in a loading screen?
Who the fuck am I seeing on the map here? It says there's one of our guild members here.
I don't know. Not all my stuff is signed in.
Rhymefire? I don't remember who the fuck... I'm terrible with some of the guild members' names. Like, I don't know who the fuck Rhymefire is. Wait, I can check the... Hold on a sec. There's a way to check that. I'm fucking dumb. As my camera flies straight upwards while I'm going to check.
Yeah.
That is... Oh, it's Katala. What the fuck?
So
they're both on the game, and I have no idea what either one of them are doing.
Well, they're probably doing things and stuff. All right.
Hold up a sec.
Let me... no, you should throw the invite at me.
Yeah, I'm gonna. Hold on.
I'm
gonna see if they want to join us. And then I'm gonna get your invite sent out.
On the greater end of things, I believe I was complaining about the the issues involving 5th edition D&D's player base more than necessarily the system per se, though I do believe Tasha's Cauldron of whatever.
Yeah, is that what it was called? Yeah.
I can't even remember. It was the trash book of trash that they basically threw out into the market, and a bunch of wells stuffed it into their face. That sounded very mean-spirited. And a bunch of people bought thinking they were getting a quality product when they weren't.
Yeah, gotcha.
I sure can't wait to buy this Fate version of D&D. I keep having the contempt boil out, and I don't necessarily mean it that way. But, honestly, part of my problem is not so much that, Wizards of the Coast seems intent on beating people to death with revisions and reimaginings and, hey, please ignore all these rules that are inconvenient for the people who whine at our offices. But it's the fact that I've had the argument brought to me by people who said, hey, see, this is good that 5th edition D&D is so popular because it's going to make it more potential buyers for other systems. It's going to make the tabletop hobby as a whole better. And 5 years later, I'm still sitting here going, has it? Has it really made things better? Has the increase in players, or player base if you prefer, buyers,
however you want to put it, man,
however you want to state that, new people to the hobby really enriched the hobby? Have we seen a giant flourishing of new systems and ideas and people just really branching out to try new things?
Walk and chew gum here, dude. We gotta go this way.
I gotta follow you. I can pat my head too. But as far as I can tell, the answer is truly no. We haven't seen too much more than a jostling of player or game systems, or really just games and sometimes just revisions of the same system within the top 5 sellers. Plus, they're not really a lot of times giving out the numbers per se.
That's fucking honest damn truth.
And they're usually just digital track sales. So I kind of go by a number of different things. So I go to a lot of these hobby shops and I look at shelf space and I see what's selling. And I just don't see this explosion of sales and people jumping to various systems that has been sold to me as the truth of what was going to happen.
Ah, jeez. Well, go on. Well,
I don't want to overtalk.
Oh no, it's okay. You don't need to worry about that all the time. I'll mention it if it's something I need to hear. I've done a lot of this before.
Okay. Well, I don't want to be rude. And
you're fine. Don't worry.
But when it comes down to hard numbers, I know there's some sites that have versions of numbers, but they're usually very, very contained.
Hi, Phil. Cute comment.
What was the comment?
He says, walking, chewing gum, and patting your head, such an overachiever.
I can do more than that, but it's not decent. Think of the children.
Why? They're not my kids.
I don't know. I can't see what the people in Ohio used to say about that.
Oh, I mean, you could. It's my fucking shit. We ain't getting monetized no way.
Well, I'm trying to be decent about it. But,
I propose we steal the
there are numbers and such out there, but when you really like, if you go to Ian World, and I don't really advise it because I think half the people there have become cultists to D&D 5th edition and worship at its altar.
Or as Phoenix put it, let's throw out the rules instead of refining them.
Oh, they don't have the talent to refine them. The only guy that worked on any of the older stuff, he's more of a figurehead, and even in that regard, I referred to him as nothing more than a coattail riding asshole who has actually no actual design talent. It's why he makes everything into the same version of something that he's done before. Everything's the same. But they just don't have the talent. They've hired more for hitting boxes, let's say. So there's not really that knowledge. You're not going to see the people who worked on 3rd edition, negative or positive as some people may feel about that, that worked on it. They're not refining talent. They're hiring people who are cheap, easy to get, and have political motives. And that's all they fucking care about.
Unfortunately, that is a fucking real disgusting part of the industry right now.
So a lot more of what they're making is about, okay, well, let's just not really worry about these rules, because that would be an expectation that the people you hired can learn them or know that they exist. And considering the guy at the top barely can do any design, let's be honest.
Ooh.
So, on that end of things, we have Tasha's Cauldron of Monkey Trash, which a good chunk of it is just telling you, hey, disregard the rules.
Do you want to give a little bit of context on what exactly that was? Because a lot of people might not even know why that title means anything.
Okay. So, if you've been around long enough, effectively a lot of the names for D&D books are nonsensical in 5th edition. And this comes from two elements. The first one is that they're trying to appeal to a sense of nostalgia.
Yeah.
And they're trying to make it less mechanical sounding. Now, I know that sounds really stupid when you're a person that's going, hey, if you're interested in D&D 5th edition, get blank book. It has blank in it. Well, we used to have things like player's guides and monster manuals and so on and so on. They would kind of give you a general idea of what you would find in them. 5th edition's philosophy is to take its own fecal matter, shove it at a wall, paste it all over, and go, hey, what was one of those things that guy that we don't like to talk about made? And it was involved in stuff? Tasha? She was a witch lady? Okay, slap that on there.
Yeah, basically.
That's effectively the design philosophy or naming philosophy in this regard. So, and it's very, very bad with 5th edition. That a lot of the books have names that are more references to old material that new players don't know, and that they don't really use in a manner that makes sense. It's really disingenuous. It's more marketing mumbo-jumbo. Because they don't really... Here's the thing. They don't expect most of the people who are buying into 5th edition to ever buy these books.
Sadly, most of what they do is either disingenuous or exceptionally fucking cynical.
That is the cold, hard truth here. Most of probably their profits come from...
I should probably grab some of these waypoints. Keep talking.
The players, I believe it's the player's handbook. That's probably where I think most of their profits for 5th edition come from.
Yeah, that would fucking figure.
Because people purchase that, and that's really where most of the people that they're, air quotes, getting into the hobby kind of go, and that's where they stop. Because a lot of people, I believe this, are getting into it because it's a fad.
Yeah.
And it's the popular thing to do. They go watch the roles that are critical, and they go and see a hot dude running a show type thing with all kinds of improvisation and lots of money behind it. Let's be perfectly honest.
Oh, there ain't nothing dishonest about that.
I think every single one of these games is is an hour and something. So I think that's where most of their money comes from. And I'd love to have the numbers because it would be a lot easier to talk about it.
True.
But one thing is I always like to have the numbers to play with because they tell you a lot of people's purchasing habits and so on and so on.
Yeah.
But it's my feeling that's probably what it is because that's usually one of the better selling books in any tabletop RPG is the Player's Handbook. Anything related to DMs almost always sells last. And then splat books, as we used to call them, or expansion books. I prefer splat. Are more or less kind of probably in the first year you make money, but after that they tend to have less and less returns because you're appealing to more and more of a hardcore fan base.
I'm sorry. My brain occasionally, like yours, does this thing.
Yeah.
And you just made me remember that debate from the beginning of Dominion Tank Police.
Oh no.
The whole rant about the surgeon, and then the mayor's like, if the surgeon uses a tank, then the patient tends to die. But that's kind of like how I feel how this is handled in a lot of cases.
Well, you have to remember, around the time of 5th edition, they did a fairly big kind of playtest thing, which I was involved in.
Yeah.
And they tried out a bunch of different ideas because they actually hired talented people to design the core of it.
Yeah.
And they sold it as here's this modular thing.
Portal.
I sure hope that you like it because there's going to be a bunch of modular books, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah, blah, blah, blah.
And
sounds about fucking right.
Because it was all a lie. It was all a lie from word one. And what we ended up getting was a very sterile system with a very particular set of rules that were more meant to... They're not really the meat and potatoes of the setting.
Yeah.
Because really, the system. They give you the bare minimum, and then... depending on the person, it's either too complex or it's too simplistic.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Some of the issues I had is that really after that playtest, most of those people went off and founded either their own companies to run. So, for example, one of them runs, I forget the name of it, but he makes Numenera, which is a pretty decent system. Or they went off to work with other industries altogether. One of them actually runs a YouTube channel called, I believe it's the RPG Pundit. It's pretty good. He's got a pretty good amount of detail on stuff. He can definitely talk about how they basically don't want to associate him with it. But they gutted the D&D team.
Well, it's
I
like
believe
that
for
thing.
a while
It's like that
two
similar
people.
thing where they never talk about oh fuck, what's his name? The guy who worked on a lot of the Cthulhu stuff too.
Oh,
I'm having a horrible time. He does board games.
Sandy Peterson.
Sandy Peterson. Yeah, nobody ever talks about him either.
A lovely man, by the way.
Let's go this way.
Makes fantastic games, by the
I
way.
think this is where we're going. Hold on, let me make sure.
Is this not the portal you want to go
I'm
through?
double checking. Yeah, it looks like it. Alright, we'll go through the portal. If it's wrong, we'll go back through it. Fuck it.
Okay. But part of the thing here is not to demonize this game, because I don't see a point to it.
Well, I'm not going to shit on nobody that likes it, but, me and Wizards of the Coast are fucking through. I mean, between all the dopey bullshit they've pulled, in fucking Magic the Gathering to all the dopey bullshit they've pulled and changed unnecessarily in fucking D&D.
Well, I do mean to insult Wizards of the Coast. I just don't mean to insult the people who enjoy the game.
No, but let's talk about like what we were talking about earlier tonight before we got on here.
Yeah,
about,
I was gonna
like what it takes for people to seemingly enjoy the game anymore.
Well, this ties into my... Is this really improving or adding to the hobby? Is it expanding it, really? And one of the big things for me is I don't feel like it is. Now, this could be a myriad of just... I don't live in an area where it's big or whatever.
Yeah.
You know the normal spill.
Yeah.
And then it kind of bleeds into my observations. Now, don't take these as law, but these are my observations. And this even comes down to when I was playing the game with a group of people. And...
suspicious bit. Oh, I need to put out some of these fires.
Okay. So, as I was saying...
Yeah, sorry.
I do wonder, in some regards, if this truly has helped. So, back in the day...
I'll let you keep doing that while I deal with some of these pirates.
Okay. With a pretty regular group. Not the greatest group, nothing like that, but was a regular, long-term, I'd say about 3-4 year long campaign.
Now, was this before our group, or are we talking about the North Carolina
No,
group?
I'm talking about North Carolina.
Okay.
So, I had a pretty good amount of experience, plus...
Yeah, there's no pirates left, we just gotta put out the fires now.
Okay. And I had some experience creating homebrew for 5th edition. So, one of the things I innately picked up on is that a lot of people were mangling these games with homebrew, which is one of the things it likes to sell itself on.
Yeah.
It's very easy to homebrew. And you're ending up in a situation where you had a game that you could barely recognize. And it started to make me go, okay, well, one, are these people really migrating to other systems? Are they really becoming customers, increasing the awareness?
And my answer would be hell no.
No. In no regard are these people trying out other games.
Got a live pirate right on you.
Oh, it's okay. The other thing is, are they truly happy with... Now, this is with dedicated groups.
Yeah, of course.
I will say that. These are people who they've taken time...
Still got a fire somewhere.
Time aside to...
You see the last fire?
Is it in the inn?
I don't know. Check. I don't see one out here.
Okay. But is it really expanding these things? And the answer is, I don't know.
Oh, that was it. Okay.
I've seen different arguments, but one thing I've never seen
now we can go to
is people in mass going, hey, I really want to play this because it's not D&D.
Yeah.
That are D&D hardcore players. Or even casual players. It's been one of these things. I've seen a continual march of people saying, hey, I would play this, but it doesn't use the 5th edition system.
And to me, that's a benefit, you know?
And you see this a lot with different systems, where people are constantly murmuring and whining that X game doesn't use it, and therefore they'll never play it until it inevitably does a Kickstarter to launch a 5th edition version.
Which
and then,
almost, I want to say at least about 60 to 75% of the time ends up kind of ruining that game for most of its other players.
well, you lose any of the unique feel, but more importantly, the thing I noticed, and again, personal experience, I like to say that,
That's fine.
is a lot of people didn't just use those books as more material to core out for their D&D game.
Yeah, sadly
They're not
enough.
interested in the setting,
Nah.
and they don't really give a shit for the player base that was there for that setting and system.
Mm-hmm.
In fact, usually they're destroying those.
Very often. It's kind of annoying.
Like with the One Ring.
Oh my god, the One Ring was definitely its own unique thing until they decided they need to do a 5th edition version.
And then they put almost all their focus on 5th edition.
Yep.
So if you were in there from the start and you're like, hey, cool, this has got a unique system that really captures
Hold on,
the feel
let's kill
of
this thing and then we can probably map travel to our next area.
the stories, and then you get a thing that's like, no, sorry, we found we could sell this book so people can core it out to use in their 5th edition campaign.
I'm still in combat. Must have got hit by a debuff.
I think it's the cripple.
Okay, do you have Winterhaven Waypoint?
I have no idea where that is.
It's
so
a little
maybe...
ways up ahead of us.
Winterhaven Waypoint, yep.
Okay, let's go there.
Alrighty.
And continue talking.
Okay. So, I've kind of been a little bit all over the map on this, but where I would like to really kind of come down on it is the effect D&D has had, by and large, on the RPG market. Is the argument I'm making is I don't think it's been positive. Not in the recent decade.
I kind of agree because aside from the fact that they're trying really hard to monopolize the RPG market, there's also the fact that a lot of their, recently anyway, a lot of their most dedicated players have this real nasty habit of trying to force everything else to fucking cater to them rather than to try anything else new.
Well, it reminds me of a previous period of time, the D20 boom.
Yeah.
Where, as an old colleague of mine would say, it's D&D everything.
Yeah.
Effectively, the idea was, hey, we're going to make this system where you don't really have to pay money up front, that anyone could use and create a system, not create a system, but their game, and it'd be an easier sell. Anyone who's ever tried to sell a group on having to purchase a book, even one in a system they've already known?
Yeah. And what's another thing is, too, is you got certain players who are just, they're so adverse to learning a new setting, even if it's a simpler setting than one they're already using, they will fight you all fucking day, especially if they're those people that are like, well, I only have the time to learn this one setting. And it's like, but it doesn't take that much time just to learn the character sheet. You know, and somebody can help you with that.
Or you could borrow someone's book, blah, blah, blah. The big problem has always been player advert. Players being adverse to adopting new things. But the greater point I'm making is that all these different reasons I've heard, it come down to, oh, well, if he uses this system, then you can get him to play these other settings. Oh, look at all these new people. They're going to inevitably spread out and buy other things, so it'll be great for everybody.
But that's a blatant fucking lie. Because all it does is propagate this fucking already tired system to other settings where you have players who will refuse to play those settings if they use the original fucking mechanics.
I will.
I know.
But first, I want to break
But they're
the
talking about if it uses the 5th edition.
I know, but that's what I'm saying. It's like all that does is ruin the game for the actual players, because then you just get an influx of players who refuse to play it in anything other than 5th edition rules.
And then you have the, it's easy to homebrew, so that's good because it means that you can try a bunch of different things, which is also a lie.
Yes, it is.
But I'm going to use a different system and a completely different thing to kind of point at this. This is like saying, hey, Warhammer 40k is great for tabletop wargaming because it's going to bring in all these new people to wargaming, and they're going to obviously play all these other systems, which is also bullshit.
Yes, it is.
You might get 3 to 5% of those players shave off looking for something else. The rest of them sit there in the quagmire refusing to change, even as they actively complain about the slag that they're being fed.
Yeah.
And I know this because I've also played Warhammer 40k.
That's got it. Get ready.
And dealt with the ungodly amount of people who want to whine about that and then never do a damn thing about it. So I keep coming back to this thing where I go, well, what is the net benefit?
And the answer, in my opinion, is there isn't one. All it does is almost guarantee that this game setting will get filled with people who don't give a shit.
Well, it's kind of like Star Wars in that regard.
Yeah.
So, and I don't want to seem overly cynical as I accidentally get on the cannon. Again, this is not meant to attack
Coming out of the tunnels.
players who might be perfectly happy with what they're getting. Who will sit there and go, I don't understand this guy. I like this thing. There's nothing wrong with that. If you're happy with something, great. But
I do have an issue with the people who go out and deliberately do this.
I'm speaking in the broader sense. It's this kind of... everything has to be the thing I like. Nothing can be anything but it. And this is a problem I've had because as these players will refuse to touch the other thing, they will then make it clear to the people in charge of them that they would definitely buy it if only it used a system that was different. So therefore selling out the player base.
The same painfully generic system that some of the players of these other games were trying to get the fuck away from.
Or it is a simple matter of taste. There's other people that want to do different things. They want different knobs, you might say. And we kind of end up in this situation where you go, okay, well, there are other games out there, but the positive effects of D&D on them, I would say, are very much depleted, if not non-existent.
It's
If
definitely feeling that
anything,
way.
it pressures those people to go, look, I can make more money by effectively ignoring the original people who cared about what I'm into and pointing it at a bunch of opportunists who only care that it might give them some new mechanic to play with.
That doesn't feel incorrect, especially being around this shit as long as we have and watching some of this shit develop and kind of twist into this. Well, we talked about this in our last stream. Is like the minute this shit got quotation marks popular, i.e. people started doing it, that weren't like normal nerds. I don't know how else you fucking put that.
People doing it.
Yeah, look at these popular, famous people playing this game. And you know what? His intention was not to do that. What I would say, the first sliver of that came out when people found out that Vin Diesel played D&D.
Yeah, it definitely had
Now,
a bit of that.
Vin didn't want to fucking change anything, to his credit. And it wasn't even something he talked about a lot until somebody actually asked him about the hobby. It was when, oh god, I always forget the guy's name.
I'm gonna be it's the Mercer.
Matt
effect.
Mercer, yeah.
And it has a lot to do with the flash and dash element.
Yes, other way. Oh shit. Well, we're gonna fight that dredge.
I'll kill this guy real quick.
There.
And that is like, people would watch it and they'd see this flashy, fun, quick-paced, perfectly done game, and they go, "Oh wow, that's how that is. That's something I want to be." And then they would go to their DM and expect them to have a giant wall of terrain perfectly set for every scenario,
pre-painted miniatures for everything. Like these like ridiculously scripted out campaigns and a cast of characters. I'm like, dude, nobody other than people who are getting paid to do this has this kind of fucking time and money.
And then it would nip along in about an hour and a half.
Yeah.
And look, it's edited material.
No,
if you've ever been to an actual game, you understand what you're getting into. It's 3 to 4 hours.
Yeah. Phoenix says, it's kind of like name a long-running IP, brings out a list.
Yeah. But I keep having to come back to the same thing of going, what are the positive effects that I have been sold all of these years by people saying, well, it's going to have nothing but positive effects. It's going to make everybody's boat will be uplifted. Blah, blah, blah.
Fuck right off, you lying sons of bitches.
Well, you see, if Jeff Bezos only gets another $1 billion, he'll be able to pay Guan, who only gets 60 cents an hour, 10 more cents. Everyone's boat is uplifted.
Well, that's an interesting way to lay that out.
Well, I'm trying to be fair because I think Guan deserves one. But I'm like, okay, look, this is saying that means
that fucking bullshit.
It's been X many years since Officer Dumbass 12 did blank, so I'm going to do it, so I'll be the first officer to do what Officer Blank did X amount of years ago. And that'll impress somebody, and I'll get my bird or whatever. Whatever stupid-ass thing an officer's done today. If you've been around the military, you know what I'm talking about.
Oh, yeah.
But you're making an argument with no factual base to it. And
shit, I'm coming down.
It really irritates me, because I would love it to be true.
Yeah.
I love the idea that people get into things. But I did come into a market that was far, far different when I got involved in tabletop RPGs.
Absolutely.
And that has a lot to do with there was a lack of the internet. Different areas had different stocking habits. So one of the first places I was in didn't have D&D in it. It had Rollmaster and Palladium.
We got a bit of a run ahead of us.
That's fine. So, you were kind of exposed to more. But now, it's just like, you look on the internet, you go to Amazon, and you buy D&D.
Yeah.
You don't have to go to the nerd store that smells like sweat and armpit and lost hope. You go...
We done fucked up. We gotta go back the other way.
Okay. You just go to there, and mom and dad or grandpa and grandma, they don't have to interact with a lot of these things per se anymore.
Yeah, this is true.
They don't have to be exposed to it. So normally the amount of exposure half these people have to other settings is there's a Kickstarter that's promising to be 5th edition. And that's the whole thing, because I've not seen proof. Like, here's a good example. So the top 5 RPGs for the longest time was Dungeons and Dragons and Pathfinder.
Mm-hmm.
And if you know anything about Pathfinder, It's like saying D&D and D&D.
Yeah, well, I mean, because one kind of derived from the other.
Well, one was just the previous system. And I'm like, okay, so tell me how this is making things better. And I
Ugh.
really wish there were someone that could. Because I see
Yeah, because
numbers...
all we really seem to get is meaningless excuses or dumb platitudes.
Well, I see a lot of happy 5th edition players and very little else.
True.
And then I'm not even thinking that I see a lot of happy 5th edition players.
I
because
think
start
we more
looking,
see 5th edition players who are so weirdly deluded by their brand loyalty, which I still don't get, than they are that the fact. Let me try that again. They're so deluded by this brand loyalty shit that they found ways to like modify shit to be enjoyable, but then they still chalked it up to the game being good.
Well, that's probably partly it. I mean, I've seen a lot of people playing. How do I put it in polite terms? Utterly mangled versions of the game
Yeah.
that barely resemble the system in any meaningful way. So, a lot of times I kind of go, well, I'm not seeing these. I don't think these people are really playing D&D.
I'm
I
inclined to
think
agree with you.
most of them are just playing something
They're
they
playing
call D&D.
They're playing homebrew with the 5th edition rules, and like you've said, the homebrew generally gets into such a weird area that you can barely call it fucking 5th edition by the time they're done with it. And it's
Hold on a
almost
second.
necessity. What?
Yeah, hold on a second. Cover me. I gotta
Oh,
check
okay,
something.
yeah, I got you.
Continue.
Well, it's it continue as he leaves. In my opinion, it's like there's this thing we noticed too, even back before we stopped doing 5th edition, and this is back with that group we talked about in our last stream that we were playing with, is whenever it would come time for our buddy to run the D&D stuff, 5th edition D&D stuff, he had started like tapping into every external resource he could find, you know, shit from Assassin's Creed Black Flag, The Witcher, fucking, oh god, what was that other one? I can't remember. It was like The Wheel of Time, several other things. And he was just using internet homebrew rules to just modify a bunch of shit that was better into fucking 5th edition. By the time we were done, most of your quote-unquote hardcore 5th edition players wouldn't have fucking given our campaign the time of day because it wasn't fucking 5th edition anymore.
Ew, I'm back.
Yo.
Was there a question?
Not yet, no. I was just explaining the whole, like, the part of the homebrew thing. Yeah, you can get to your point.
The concept of homebrew or
well,
my
you can give
issue?
you can give the concept a little better than I did. I was just using our group as an example. How Steven just kept salvaging shit and homebrewing it from other settings and other fucking things.
Until
to
he
get
gave up and just played a different system.
Yeah,
altogether.
until we eventually just all gave up on fucking 5th edition. But yeah, get to the homebrew thing, like explanation wise, because I don't think we've explained homebrew at all to people that know what it is.
For those unaware of what homebrew is, it's a term that comes from brewing, obviously, and that was usually the people who would do the home wine brewing or indie beer, blah blah blah. It's been around for ages. People have done it.
Shit.
For a long time. In the context of tabletop RPGs, what it usually means is unofficiated material produced by a player or a DM or an interested party that usually offers some kind of mechanical adjustment, addition, or it can even be just let's say you have your own setting you use. There's various shades of homebrew kind of all tailored into category.
We got a comment here. Hold on a sec. Let's see what they got to say. So 5th edition players, Phoenix August says, are similar to Homer and the Spit Roast. It's a little dirty, it's still good, it's still good. It's a little slimy, it's still good, it's still good. It's a little airborne. Yeah, they can be a lot like that. They're so into the brand and looking like they like the thing every fucking buddy else they know likes that they're willing to literally just lie to themselves, I feel like.
Well, I think it's a number of elements in that. One, it's people who are just there because it's popular. That's probably a decent chunk of people. It's the it thing. It's the popular thing.
I fucking
the nerds
hate.
got kicked out, so they're happy to do it.
I fucking hate trend chasers. By the way, that shit really fucking pisses me off.
Then you got the grognards.
You might want to. Yeah, thank you.
The grognards. It's a French term, and effectively, I just kind of sum it up as veteran players. These are people who have been obsessed with D&D forever, and they're only interested in playing D&D. They have no interest in anything but D&D, and you will never move them because that's what they want to play D&D, period. There used to be a joke with one of the tables where we were like, well, you can tell a grognard because everything's D&D. Even when it's something that is a... so, for example, back in the day, you had D20 Modern, which was basically D&D in modern times, using a system close enough to D20. And the grognard would whine and cry about it because it wasn't D&D, even when it was D&D. Now, there are plenty of grognards who are wonderful, great people. And that's the same with every one of these categories. It's
there's good. That's the thing.
All or nothing.
We're not decrying any of the players for wanting a certain thing. Our biggest issue is with the dishonesty of some players about it. And honestly, the way this game has kind of propagated to a point where it's become kind of ridiculous. Because now some of these players refuse to even recognize the existence of other things.
Well, part of my problem is the commercial incentive this has had on the game as a whole, and what it's done to other games, chasing that dragon, you might say. The third group of people, I'd say, are those players in denial.
Ooh.
Or the dissatisfied. The quietly dissatisfied. And I fell into that category.
If you're upstairs, you need to be downstairs.
I'm working my way down.
Okay.
That's the category I believe I fell into. Because I spent a number of years trying to shape it into something I enjoyed more. And I kept having this trouble because I couldn't get the game to give me that sense of gratitude and enjoyment. And I struggled with that for a while. And I think a lot of people are there. And that's one reason why the homebrew thing is, I feel like, a trap.
Yeah.
Is it traps people into thinking, oh, well, if you're dissatisfied with the game, don't go look at other games. Here's all this homebrew. Here's all this, like, player-created content that we monetized. Go do that. Mangle it until you can't. It's barely the same game.
True.
And at that point, I always go, okay, well, then why are you playing it? If it's almost completely not that game, maybe there's something that's, more enjoyable, and you could find that. So to me, it feels like it's number of layers. One, it's the big name out there. It's a fad. There are people who literally don't want other RPGs to exist, period. People who don't want to do anything to learn a new system, so they're not willing to try new things. There's people who go to a restaurant and go, well, I've always had the hamburger, and the chicken sandwich sounds like it could be good, but that would be too much of a risk. So they won't try new things. And then the other one is people who have been caught up into this bubble, and they think, oh, it's not the game, it's me. I just have to find this thing that's going to make the game just right and hit just the spot I need it to. It's like a trap in that regard.
Yeah.
And that's why it bothers me so much. It's not that the game exists, it's not how the game runs. I already came to the point that the game was not for me. And I left playing it. The problem here is that it continues to haunt every other system I've ever touched in this kind of omnipresent shadow that it has, and this kind of constant drumbeat from these same people who will just obsess that everything needs to be what they like.
True.
Screw you, it should be catering to me so I have more stuff to plunder for my personal enjoyment. I don't care how long that's existed. Screw you, give me what I want.
That's not inaccurate.
So it's not an attack on the players that like it, or the game system per se. It is an attack on Wizards, because this is a marketing strategy. They want to have the gaming market be them, because their next step is, once they have that, then they're going to get rid of the open gaming license element of it. Then it'll be the open licensing agreement. And then it'd be exactly what they've done with one of the reasons they sell the homebrewing angle is, if you've ever gone to drive-through RPG and you've looked at the community content, it's because they get a percentage of every one of the sales from that community content.
That does figure.
Now, a lot of people like that because they can slap that official Dungeons and Dragons thing on there. Now, it doesn't mean that there are people who do the open gaming license and they don't get a dime for it, but that's free advertising.
Yeah.
That still means that player has to go and buy the player's handbook. That DM still has to buy the monster manual, the player's handbook, and the Dungeons Master's Guide. And anything that has the official content, because if you've ever read through it, you know that there's a bunch of things that they say, you can use this, but you can't have this. So you get a barbarian with one archetype. So if people want access to those things, they have to pay to play. So it doesn't hurt them to have this situation. And they're already moved into a thing where they basically got people creating content for them that they get a percentage off of. It's the effects it has on the greater market, in that the guy who created the open gaming license made a comment in which I believe he said something about this basically will become the one system.
Ugh.
So he wanted D20 to be the only system out there. So if you dislike that system, you're screwed. So this has a lot more to do with the way Wizards has treated the game, how they've treated the licensing, and how they have marketed it, in that they don't really give a shit about the greater market. Of course, they're owned by Hasbro, so what do you expect?
Oh god, fucking Hasbro. Hasbro is currently in the process of ruining fucking 40K.
No, yeah, they're gonna buy it, I'm pretty sure.
Well, they already got a former Hasbro executive in charge of it.
Oh, he's in charge of the IP bot section, by the way.
Yeah, of course. That's exactly what I'm talking about. So
But,
yeah, they're just going to turn it into a toy factory, and I don't even mind good toys, but you gotta fucking do what the company's supposed to fucking do, and that's games, assholes.
Well, they'd have to care about the games first, wouldn't they?
Yeah.
Are you over by the Thunderhorns waypoint?
Yeah, I just went through the... Sorry about that.
Okay. So that's a lot of my grief with the system. I mean, I could talk about how I think the system's awful, but that's a matter of personal taste, and I think needless in the greater context. it really just bothers me. Especially when you start looking at the games that are selling and you're going, okay, when they're all basically D&D, what are you going to play? Now, that doesn't mean there aren't games out there that are different. It's just that
Oh shit.
I worry that if they continue to have this lock
Oh
on
look,
the
these
the market,
motherfuckers.
that it will just get worse as a whole,
Yeah.
or as a rule, honestly. I've always been against the idea of monopolies. And holding an effective monopoly on the gaming market is an awful thing. Because I've already seen what happens with this kind of thing when you talk tabletop involving wargaming. Stumbling over my words a little.
It's alright, man.
And that one, it does not go to good places. You get a company that suddenly feels that it can just bully you around. And
Yeah, it's called Games Workshop.
and push content creators out of the people who built the whole thing to begin with, effectively. And that, as far as I'm concerned, leads to a very bad place. And it's one reason I am very negative towards D&D at this point. I mean, if it wasn't the fact that it is effectively de facto game,
Yeah.
I would just ignore it. I'd care nothing. If they want to make their silly little game where they have books that tell you to ignore half the rules, then by all means. The greater problem is that it holds a stranglehold on the market.
Yeah.
And the last thing I want is them to basically start pushing GW style things. And they'll be able to do that if they effectively own the marketplace more than they do right now.
The further away from him I get, the better. If you're smart, you'll do the same.
Not yet. We need answers. Come on, Slayer. Let's go see if anything's left alive in there.
Oh, I forgot one of the arguments, actually.
Oh,
I'm
yeah,
sorry
let's
about that.
Go.
Complexity.
Fuck you, complexity.
Yeah. I actually have heard this argument, and initially it perplexed me. Because I'd been around tabletop RPGs a very long time, and I'd done some work on stuff involving them, so like elements of the mathematics, rules, things like that. There's some universalities to some of this, at least in concept.
Well, yeah, I mean, when you're doing something based on numbers and dice, there's bound to be some similarities.
So, I'd heard the argument of, oh, well, it's not super complex, it's very newbie friendly, and I didn't really think about that. Because one, I didn't really have a group of newbies.
No.
I wasn't really having to introduce new players to it. And
I'll do anything you ask. Just don't let the beasts kill me.
I didn't have to, it never really
Getting the last roar of
entered into that space.
Keep that dredge alive.
But as time's gone on, and I've grown in experience in these regards.
Okay, we gotta get this guy safe.
Okay. One thing I can
That
definitely
means kill these
say
things.
is I hate that lie. It's disingenuous in the extreme because it takes something subjective and tries to say, oh, well, this is how it is.
Yeah, that's entirely fucking correct.
And as anyone who knows or has ever had to explain something to someone, that people are different. People process things and understand things in wholly different manners from one another. Just because one person will pick mathematics up really easily doesn't mean that the next one will.
And also, I mean, in the same vein, it doesn't mean that just because you got one or two players that are super great at like understanding the 5th edition shit that everybody at the table's gonna, or that everybody at the table's gonna want that.
So, again, I come back to, does this make the hobby stronger? Does this lift all boats? And the argument I would make is no. It, one, treats everyone as if they're the same. It makes an argument that's disingenuous and, well...
Oh,
So
shit.
disingenuous. And it has some
Get in on
negative
this
effects.
motherfucker right here. Come on now, asshole.
At least
I'll
as
claw
far
your
as
fucking frozen ass eyes out.
I can observe. And this is a Fangers, so not everybody has the same level of experience I do.
Nah.
So some people are going to walk in and they're not going to have consumed...
How much fucking bigger her
this...
werewolf form is than you?
You don't have to rub that in. They haven't digested, I guess, the best way to put it.
Yes.
Some of the concepts that I had in the past done. So you're introducing new things to people, and then you're making a kind of broad statement going, this is a simple game. This is the baseline for RPGs. So you have trouble with this one per player, this is what they're all like. The complexity argument they make.
Yeah.
That's the underlying unspoken part, is that effectively they're saying this is what all games are like at base level. Because it's simplistic.
Which is absolute total fucking bullshit.
Which is fucking bullshit. And if you ever had to do teaching a person something, you already know that when one person says one size fits all, that you're going to get that freak that doesn't fit anything.
Well, look at how long it took us, and he still didn't particularly do it well. Look how long it took us to get Chris to process anything in the fucking Palladium system.
And I didn't mean that in a derogatory
No,
sense.
no, it's not meant to be, but it's just some people don't process shit the same way. Chris couldn't stop himself from thinking in D&D terminology. So trying to teach him Palladium was next to fucking impossible because he tried to equate everything to D&D mechanics.
It's like you take Grandma and Grandpa and you introduce them to a bunch of concepts that they've never had any introduction to. And it's like with video gaming, you know, it's like all of a sudden Grandpa's gonna pick up that dare Street Fighter because it's the popular thing that all the cool kids are playing, and they've made it look really fun and easy.
Lord have mercy.
And then he has to learn the concept of, you know, high guard, low guard, low, on and on and on.
And this is considering that both your mother and like our parents, well, except for my dad, they play fucking video games, you know?
Yep.
But you wouldn't expect them to pick up some super complex shit out of nowhere.
Yeah, but my mother doesn't go to the Capcom Open and, you know, like, she mains Blanca, ladies and gentlemen. I'm joking.
Christ, if you main Blanca, that's some shit right there.
She's
I don't care
just
who you
that higher
are.
complexity of a player, man. She understands the in and out of the design. And it's bullshit.
Besides, if you mained Blanca, Evo would ban your ass eventually anyway because you were beating the Ryu players.
How dare you?
Alright, we need to go this way.
And,
wait,
welcome, I'm sure.
Hey, what's up, man?
Well, hello. Not a lot. You shoot me a party invite?
Yeah, hold up a sec.
Not sure what you guys are doing right now.
We're doing story shit.
And I'm complaining.
Well, honestly, I'm not that much of an RPG, of a pen and paper RPG grog nerd, but I'm sure I can, I don't know, tell some 2nd edition AD&D Thaco war stories.
Oh, Christ.
Well, and I think you can understand some base.
Yeah, you'll be able to understand
argument.
what we're arguing here. Because our argument is, like, tonight we're talking about the specificities of, like, the shit we've been dealing with, like, the 5th edition D&D thing.
Yeah.
And this nasty proclivity, especially with the onset of 5th edition to try to turn everything else into D&D.
Yeah.
That and the overall effects on the market. Does it make things better for the wider market?
Considering all of the RPG systems that I've actually really liked in the past are very non-D&D-ish, I would say no.
Yes.
That has been
that's-
our general consensus, yeah.
It's been my stance. And then it's also a matter of, I understand the differences in time. Like, I grew up at a very different time where, you had little bookstores and game stores and such. You didn't have the internet. And there was just different levels of exposure. So you might have an area, like in a couple of the places I lived, the big RPG was Rollmaster.
Oh, God.
So, yeah, that's...
I've never heard of Rollmaster.
Oh, boy.
I don't have enough time to explain Rollmaster.
Well, let me put it this way, AW. Rollmaster's nickname was Chartmaster.
Did you have like solve a quadratic equation to make your character?
Close enough. There was an element with gaining experience via travel. I don't even... I don't have enough time to get into that.
This is like one of those
still be alive.
1970s wargaming things where they would like produce an extremely detailed wargame of like the Third Battle of Kharkov with charts like detailing how many of your soldiers had suffered frostbite.
It's close enough to that. There is a simplified version that's actually pretty good, but I haven't played it in so long. But the concept is that I lived. It's kind of like wrestling back in the really old days, where you had the different federations.
Oh, yeah.
So you'd have all these different areas, and they would order something, and that would be the kind of the de facto element of that area. So, like where I lived, it was Rollmaster and Palladium Games.
Yep.
And then when I moved, it was Palladium Games was like a second, and then it was World of Darkness.
I played a lot of Werewolf the Apocalypse and some Vampire the Masquerade before I ever actually got into fucking D&D.
And there used to be a pretty good chunk of variety.
Yeah.
And then we slowly have moved towards D&D's consuming more and more.
Hold up, before we go any further, let me double check the map.
And I think a lot of it has to do with the marketing strategy that Hasbro used, whereas effectively, hey...
teleport back to the Great Lodge.
Okay. We can effectively create this system and hook people into purchasing our player handbooks and DM's guide by effectively offering would-be designers a ready-made system.
We'll wait here for him to catch up.
Okay. Sorry, I'm just finishing this event.
That's alright, man. It's alright. Keep talking, man.
And,
Just hanging out.
And that has a lot to do with it, because let's face it, if you're creating a setting and races and blah, 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 the last thing you want to do a lot of times, especially if you're a 1 or 2 man operation, is then turn around and have to do all the mathematics involved in creating a game system.
True.
Having involved myself in some of these kind of activities and career options, it's a pain. It's a lot of mathematics, it's a lot of play testing, and then it's a lot of tweaking. And the problem is you never create something that appeals necessarily on a wider market basis. So when
universal appeal is a fucking myth anyway.
When Hasbro, or Wizards,
Yeah.
came out and said, hey, look, we're going to have this open gaming license. It's going to be the system, and there's going to be select stuff out of it that you're going to be able to use 100% for free.
Mm-hmm.
It gave a lot of people this, like, hey, now I can do my thing, and I don't have to do that much mechanically.
So what you're telling me is they, more or less via a different method, pulled a Kevin Smith.
Not necessarily that they were being disingenuous like he was. More that a lot of people, it was an offer to cut out half the work.
Huh.
Because what you're doing suddenly is, you have to think of it like this. It's like Marvel Comics coming to you and saying, hey, would-be creator of blank comic, would you like to use our universe? You can use these characters in these locations. It's kind of like baiting a hook. You get people to come in and be creative, right? And those people go, hey, I'm going to have the benefits of this more popular thing. So instead of you trying to figure out how to, recreate lightning in a bottle, suddenly you're going, oh, I'll just use the D&D system. It's popular. It has the biggest player base. Therefore, I have more of a chance of being successful. And then Hasbro goes, cool, and we can sell more player handbooks.
The Slayer and I will use stealth
Because you're looking at whatever, if this happens to be super popular, that brings in more people who are going to be D&D players. Not necessarily another system players. And then
they just basically managed to get the industry to standardize on their mathematical system.
Exactly.
Yeah. That's pretty much fucking it.
It basically just kind of got a lot of that energy and creative juices focused in one location, and it didn't really do anything for the market beyond that. We have had some new systems come out, but none of them have really ever threatened the king of the market. So I've routinely had, it's been over 20 years at this point.
Yeah.
The concept where I'm like, well, what is the positives of D&D? Now, it's a system that appeals to a lot of people, has a lot of different settings. It kind of hits for a large market the exact spot a large group of players want. Even though I would make the argument that it's just mechanically easier for a lot of them. Especially when you look at the polls that say that over half of their customers don't even play a D&D setting.
Yeah. Do you want to unload why that came up today? Like what you had found out?
Well, I've been complaining about this for a long time.
Excellent choice.
Now, I never make the thing where I go, that person likes something I don't like, therefore their fun's bad. No. By and large, I have been a defender of other people's hobbies and interests, and I've made the argument, even if I don't enjoy it, I support you having that. But over the years, I've witnessed this kind of attitude shift, where you have newer people coming in, and they're a lot more mean-spirited.
Yeah, that's for damn sure.
Then I'm used to. Now that doesn't mean that they weren't mean-spirited assholes.
Oh fuck yeah, man! Every hobby's got them.
In the hobby, it's just a trend I noticed. It could be on a local level. It could just be my particular sensibilities. But it's this shift of, fuck you, make that system mine, so I'll buy a book from you. Screw your player base, give me what I want.
Yeah, more or less, yeah.
A kind of complete disregard for the people who enjoyed the other thing. It's just a, well, if they resist, crush them kind of mentality.
Which is hilarious from the kind of fucking losers that embrace this mentality.
And I have yet to really figure out what really brought this on. So I've struggled with this for years, and I'd seen and I don't suggest people go to this website at all. I'd gone to Reddit because I saw this little meme pop up. Now, if you know anything about D&D, There is Ian World. I think they got under their Ian publishing arm. Are producing a add-on document rules modification. I'm not even sure what to call it right now. Called Level Up, that adds a lot of complexity to the game to satisfy the people who, I guess, were dissatisfied with the system and want more depth, more tactical, more options, I guess is a good way to put it.
That's about the best you're going to get.
I struggle because I can't read people's minds. I haven't professored X'd enough. And the thing I noticed is that a lot of people talk about it weren't defending 5th edition. They weren't making the argument.
You both got the Refuge Peak teleporter?
Link in chat.
It's above Lornar's Pass.
Is that in the
once you get there, I'll be able to tell you.
Okay, I'll go there. Yes, the Refuge Peak waypoint.
No, but I can get there quick.
All right.
Zim hasn't explored Lornar's at all.
Oh, I got it.
All right, we'll wait.
Okay, I'm teleporting. But let's see, where was I? What was the last bit I said?
Gatekeeping.
It kind of. We were talking about the issue with like the EN World thing you read and the kind of really shitty people.
Oh. Okay, so most of the people there weren't making arguments in favor of 5th edition. That's neither here or there.
No.
But what got me to notice is that the comparison people were making was that it was a dissatisfaction at its core with the game. And that there were people who would sit there in a lot of the more mainstream locations for tabletop RPG talking, forums, what have you, will defend it without having any understanding of what they're defending. They will just simply defend it out of hand, and that was what's being made fun of, is that you have this other system that does this thing already, yet they're going to go make a product, or there's a company that feels that there's a financial benefit and incentive to making this other product that does the thing this other RPG does. And that vexed me because I was thinking, well, why wouldn't you just get the better product?
Okay, we're going to be going this way.
Okay. Does that make any sense?
I think it does. I mean, but then again, I know some of this.
I mean, the context here, I guess, is that people are making add-ons for 5th edition D&D that other systems do better.
Well, they accomplish basically the same things.
Yeah.
And not even necessarily say better, because, again, we're talking a form of entertainment, therefore subjective in that regard. Better being what you enjoy more. And that it really vexed me because it's kind of like if you've ever met that person who is a die-hard GMC fan, just to pull one out, and they won't drive anything else but GMC, but they repeatedly complain about their GMC.
Yeah.
They just work with the suffering.
It does strike me as that. So it always kind of comes back to this same core question I always have. Does it make things better? Is it improving things? And the answer I keep repeatedly coming to is no. So I see people who are dissatisfied and searching for things. I see a slipping production, not necessarily in presentation form, but when it comes to the quality of the books, I see that slipping. And I see more and more people who are just not happy, but they're trapped in this concept that they have to be in this box because there's nothing else. And I don't see how that ends up being a positive for the rest of the market, when these people could buy other products, but they refuse because it doesn't have the brand name on it.
Yeah. It's very.
Now,
It's a very bizarre sort of brand loyalty issue.
I didn't mean to cut in. Go ahead and finish.
No, I was kind of forming a thought there. It's very illogical.
Yeah, that's a
Yeah.
word for it.
I guess that's my struggle, is because I'm thinking of it logically.
Well, it's lazy, is what it is.
Yup.
I can't argue with that. So when it comes to people who are legitimately happy, well, they have an argument. I enjoy this. But when I see the common element being, I don't enjoy this. I'm looking for other things that other things
bitch.
do, but I won't touch them because, well, obviously they're not that thing. I get very confused by it. So yeah, that's my greater issue, is I believe this is having a negative effect on the hobby, and you're going to see a backlash eventually that is actually going to hurt things, probably worse than the D20 boom and bust. Now, I've had people make argument going, well, there won't be a bunch of physical product because a lot of this is electronic, but I'm like, well, if everybody associates this hobby with D&D, and they're dissatisfied with D&D enough
then
that it
exactly
burns them out,
then they're just going to assume that the entire hobby is that thing they dislike, and they're not going to play no more.
so in that regard, it
Which means
concerns
actually.
Yeah, go ahead.
Oh, what? So what you're saying here is Wizards of the Coast turned into the WWE.
Ha!
Oh, jeez. I can't make a formed argument against that. I'd say that Wizards of the Coast has become the spitting image of its owner, Hasbro. And that they're more interested in having a evergreen product with people who will continuously buy that product, but never really do anything with it. So, for example, you have Monopoly, and there's a bunch of different versions, air quote, of Monopoly,
Yeah.
but they're all Monopoly.
Pretty much.
And the element of it is, it strikes me as that's what they're doing. They're turning everything into like what they do with Monopoly. Even though the WWE one does amuse me more. But yeah, it's very frustrating when I see this potentially
Bitch, I'm gonna fucking
having
tear you in half. Get the fuck out of here.
a negative effect on the hobby, similar to how Games Workshop is having a negative effect on wargaming.
You made all the difference, Slayer.
Oh man, yeah, games is cutting their own throat. Yeah, Phoenix, that's exactly what we're talking about. They're slaves to the brand for whatever fucking reason.
To all of us.
Maybe that.
I mean, honestly, it's a this really seems to be a product of the internet age, where the internet sort of
Partially, yeah.
The internet actually sort of encourages monopolization of markets.
It certainly does hold a great deal of influence in the market.
I am also headed for life.
And the other
But
issue
it-
is the internet age has kind of encouraged this weird type of like shut-in mindset where we don't want to do nothing different, or we don't want to do nothing that's, you know, too much outside our comfort zone kind of bullshit. We got to keep to our own, this kind of weird mindset.
Well, it's like, I mean, it's like, for example, the Warhammer 40k, it's got the biggest wiki, right?
Yeah.
Dungeons & Dragons is the biggest wiki. It's the stuff you can find most easily by looking it up online.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah.
it's stuff that sort of gets a monopolistic position in, like, the knowledge base.
Yeah.
It's over.
Or you can even do something a little bit simpler than that. I think that the vast majority of customers, especially online, they go to Amazon.com and they type in RPG, and when you look at it, it's not a very large selection of RPGs that pop up. So if you're looking for anything that is relatively small and does not get shelf space like D&D, or even something like that has name brand recognition like The Witcher, you're screwed. So the exposure factor that is something else I've heard argued is that, oh, when there's a 5th edition version of it, it'll suddenly get all this exposure. And I'm like, well, if anything, I would say Kickstarters are just another monetized version of Echo Chamber.
Hey, Revan, sorry to hear about the insomnia issue. I do have some idea of what fucking time it is over there.
Oh.
Yeah, it is who, yeah. His part of the world, it is not a good time of day.
I hope you're okay there, Revan. It's not good to be up this late, my son.
I don't think he's your son. He's about your age.
No, he's really not.
Is he older than me or younger?
No, he's younger than you.
Well, actually, Revan's like my age.
Yeah.
I'm an old man, and get off my yard, you damn potato Revan person.
We ain't fucking old yet.
Respect my authority as I fall down and break another of my 10 hips.
You are a fucking mess, dude.
I'm being weird. But,
What? No shit, okay.
yeah, that's part of the issue, I think, in a large term, is that we're losing, especially in the internet age, you can get exposure, yes. There is that chance. But you're losing the ability for people to simply do something like go to a location that's not their house, look at stuff and go, huh, that looks interesting on the shelf. I'll give that a try.
Yeah.
And you're
very
moving
true.
more towards brands being able to push out their smaller competitors and basically drown them. And I think that's ultimately what I'm complaining about with D&D at the moment.
Well, it's a valid complaint. Okay, we can get the fuck out of here.
It displaces so much water that its competition just simply drown. And I find that frustrating. I also find it frustrating when there's at least a small, if not very vocal group of people who cheer on the destruction of other people's hobbies.
Well, yeah, because they're bitter. We've talked about these people. They're bitter, unpleasant motherfuckers who can't stand the idea that anybody else might do anything that doesn't directly involve them and their opinion. And they're generally of the opinion that if you don't adhere to that whole thing, that they think you shouldn't have anything.
Well, I've made the joke several times that I look forward to the point when everything is basically laying in ash and ruin, and I have to start picking up the bricks to rebuild. Is that at that point, all the people who were there just to see my hobby burn to the ground will have moved on to something more exciting.
Something like that. Okay, hold up, guys. Hold up.
Okay. And it's a sad thing when you
go
have to
to
think
the
like that.
Traders Forum waypoint in Lion's Arch.
Oh, Lion's Arch?
Oh, we gotta go listen to Destiny's Edge bitch at each other.
Maybe. I also need to sell some shit, so I need to go there anyway.
Oh, I started scrolling into the wrong capital.
Whoops.
There we go. I got it?
Yeah.
Let me finish this event here, because Zent needs XP.
Okay.
Okay. But I think that's one of the things that bothers me. It's happened to so many of my hobbies.
Yeah,
That
unfortunately.
You get to a point where you can become very... What's the best word to use for it? Nihilistic.
Which is not something you want to be in this day and age, because it just makes you one of these assholes.
Yeah.
And I made the joke before, is I've become so nihilistic that now I just don't care enough. That I just kind of, I'm pretty happy about it. I can joke. The pain isn't there as bad.
I mean,
And I don't
Yeah,
believe that is a healthy point to get to with something.
it
Because
ain't.
it means you're okay with something dying.
Yeah, that's not a good fucking thing.
And that's why I've made in the past that
Man,
I don't even remember which episode of your podcast effectively it was, where I made the argument that boycotts never work because it's a sign that you care about something and you don't ultimately want it to be destroyed.
yeah, that's entirely true. Yeah.
And it will never be effective because you have to care to boycott something.
Yeah.
And because if you didn't care and you're boycotting it, you probably weren't purchasing it to begin with. So, though I will tell people, boycott Warhammer Plus.
Oh yeah, absolutely, because that's a scam. They're just trying to put fucking content creators out of business.
Is this their new
Warhammer Plus is their streaming service thing they're putting together, and it's the reason they've been shutting down shit like Astartes, because they don't want content creators that are third party, because they're worried it'll take away from their fucking streaming service they haven't even started yet.
That, sir, is a joke.
Yeah, no fucking kidding.
Pretty bad one.
I believe it was
And
Arch,
Revan,
and
Revan, I know just enough about photography to know that that is not an exaggeration you're talking about. Cameras are fucking expensive.
I definitely agree with Arch in this. I believe it's a move to sell the company.
Maybe, man, because they've been fucking up left and right anymore.
I believe that they want to sell to Hasbro. Remember, if I'm not mistaken, Hasbro was looking into purchasing Games Workshop in the past. And the reason they didn't was they didn't believe, and I'm going to be very, very over the top on this, they weren't greedy enough for Hasbro.
Go fucking figure.
They weren't...
Wait, are you suggesting that Games Workshop wasn't greedy enough for a...
Hasbro, yeah.
That's part of the reason that Hasbro didn't initially buy them. So I agree with Arch's opinion in this, in that he believes this is a move to go, we're going to lose money, but what we got to do is just get enough people to subscribe, then say, look at all these subscriptions. Just like another company that involves Star Trek
Revan's
did with a bunch of free
Which
things.
also is running a dead streaming service.
Revan commented that, like I said to Favre about the nerd stuff that I'm into, I just want good back because I need things to look forward to. It's hard to these days because I just feel we as nerds have nothing with the likes of my sister infiltrating the nerd community and diluting what we are. And that's both true and false. It's diluted and fucked up a lot of the new stuff, and I know that you want new stuff. I understand that. But with me, it's like there's such a ridiculous abundance of stuff I haven't read or watched or played that I've kind of got to the point where I'm like, if new shit comes out I like, then hell yeah, I'll fucking get into it. But when it doesn't, I'm kind of like, fuck you, I'm not going to give you money. It's just kind of how I respond to it.
Well, on that front, yes, there's a colossal amount of older movies and shows and books that you could definitely get involved in. But what I would definitely suggest is look for people who are making things that you are interested in and find interesting, and more importantly, who are small enough that they still have to respect you, like the Maiden's War. So
I actually had a couple other vets ask about that book when I was at the VA last month.
Which is
Did
good.
you? Seriously?
Yeah, they're like, hey, what are you reading? And I was like, oh, like a buddy of mine from fucking Fort Bragg wrote this.
Believe it or not, we go around and shop the book around to other people. We're those kind of people. See, that's the thing, is that with smaller creators, they might not have the complexity or sophistication, pardon my lisp,
Sorry,
of some of the bigger brands, but they have the heart, and it's at a point where we should
Demon!
probably invest a little bit more
Shut up,
in
Kate.
that.
Stop talking to me.
And that's the thing, invoking passion in people to
All right, shut up, all of you.
invest that energy that was once put in other things into these newer things, we'll probably reap more rewards ultimately.
You're just making it worse.
Now, that doesn't mean that I think people should give up on their older passions. If anything, we know for one fact, well, Disney has made a number of horrendous, catastrophic, maybe apocalyptic mistakes with Star Wars. They did learn from their attempt to screw with the fan creators.
Yeah, weirdly enough.
So, there
Okay, let's
is
chuck
ways to
it.
influence these companies. It's just going to take more time and energy. And I have a feeling that we're going to see this fad of these, of people mainstreaming all these things kind of fade in the next 2 to 3 years. Maybe 5 at the most. Because these people are always going to need something new. And a lot of these hobbies that we have are somewhat intensive.
Cold Fusion Waffles says, Games Workshop won't burn down an orphanage for the insurance money, while Hasbro releases My First Skin Graft, the game with 0.003% going to charity for the mysterious string of orphanage fires.
I think you got that slightly wrong. See, orphans don't buy Monopoly. So those the skin graft game is not for those children because orphans don't buy them. The burning those down is so that their new apartment complex is put up with new families and children in them that will buy Monopoly. Where Games Workshop would just try to sell the injured orphans like some overpriced paint set. Hasbro's like, these children don't buy things. Get rid of them and make new ones. And then make sure their parents buy the crap that we also produce. You have to think that Games Workshop is a lesser evil, but Hasbro is a masterclass in evil. If that makes sense. I didn't lose everybody, did I?
No. I was just letting you talk, man.
I was worried I cut off.
No, you're
got into
good.
a loading screen.
You're good.
So that's how I look at that. But don't give up on your hobbies just yet.
Or
But also,
honestly, or
like
ever, because that's what some of these motherfuckers want.
But think like an investor. Keep your options open and explore new markets. Because you never know what might be around the corner. Or what might pick up where the other thing left off. So that's not always easy to do. And when you have more investment in something, I get that it's a lot harder to do.
Fuck's sake, I got 11 gold sitting here I need to pick up.
Like I've made in private, I've had the conversation where I've admitted I don't know a massive amount about Star Trek, and I'd never had the appeal to Star Trek, but I'd also liked a lot of the series that were kind of the freak series, because I liked Enterprise. I didn't know much about the setting, and I liked DS9. At the time I liked DS9 was about the time where most of the Star Trek nerds would have thrown rocks at you for liking DS9.
Okay. Revan, we've talked about this before, but I'm gonna lay out what you said. My sister now claims she's a gamer. She loves Fortnite and GTA 5. Yeah, I'd love to see your dumbass sister try to play fucking GTA 5. Fucking dumb. Just no.
I somehow doubt she has like the coordination.
Claims to be an anime nerd, but can't name one anime. She said she's a complete dork, doesn't know who Captain Sisko is or the Orville she wants to get into.
Well, That's because.
Oh, excuse
this
me.
whole
She
part
wants
is-
to. Oh, hold on. Sorry, that was another sentence. She wants to get into Star Wars, but loves Kylo Ren. The reason is because he's so sexy. She's mocking my. This is the kind of shit you deal with fake nerds, because they want to bust into your shit, but the minute you actually present them with any kind of a challenge, they wilt and attack you because you're trying to gatekeep and a dozen other bullshit excuses.
Well, as my grandfather would say back in the day, wait till the wind changes. And by that, I mean, effectively, you have to remember for a lot of people like your sister, this is a fad. This is a thing that is, I believe it's called geek chic. So right now, basically riffing on the whole geek thing is popular. All you have to do is wait long enough, the wind will shift, and these people will go someplace else. And
Damn
they'll
it,
be
Phoenix.
just as insufferable.
For
What
fuck's
did
sake,
Phoenix
man.
do?
If Phoenix Arcs is like, so Cisco's that guy from Star Trek with the pointed ears, right? And I know you fucking know better, too.
He is my favorite of the Klingons.
God damn it.
That's what the ones with the birds are, right?
Fucking hell.
Bird's the word, motherfucker. I believe that's what one of them yelled as they fell out of a plane, right?
Now that you motherfuckers managed to get the Romulans, the Klingons, and the Vulcans all fucked up on purpose.
I know what one of those is.
You
joking.
know what all of those are, you fucker.
I do now. I didn't back in the day.
No,
Like,
not
these
back in the day.
space
You did
elves.
not. Well, like you,
But,
you didn't really know much beyond a couple of the movies until we actually it wasn't even that long ago. Sat down and watched some of the original series when I got it on DVD.
well, part of the thing with like just using this as an example, I don't know where a lot of other people's entry point is. I'm assuming it's the original series or Next Generation. My entry to Star Trek, as other than why are they staring at that ship for 30 minutes?
Fucking motion
was,
picture. Fuck.
Yeah, my dad watched it and I got very confused. Was DS9. And
That was a good
it was-
fucking show.
it was because I like noir movies.
Mm,
So, and that was a fad back in the day too.
kinda, yeah.
But it had a lot of storylines that riffed off those older stories and movies, and I really enjoyed that.
I'm sitting at the next story point.
Okay. Let me get
Wait, is that
on
in Lines
here.
Arc?
Yeah,
Oh,
it's,
you gotta
it's still here as the line. I'm at Fort Mariner. I gotta go talk to Elmora.
But tying into the D&D element, don't give up necessarily, because someone might hear me and go, well, there's no hope for tabletop RPGs, just as one example.
Yeah.
I'm not saying that. I'm just saying that similar to like Disney purchasing Star Wars, what is the positive effect to greater whole? Well, this doesn't make Star Trek more popular, because that would take Star Trek having actually good writers at this point to take advantage of that market.
The
So we
only
get a
way,
market-
the only way their writers could be worse now is if they hired fucking chin balls from the fucking BBC.
Well,
Yeah, I almost think they're about to, though. That's the thing.
I know, right?
no.
Like, what would be better to
Well, given
just,
it
like,
fucking-
implement their cash?
Well, given that Chibi Boy is leaving the fucking like Doctor Who show, they might as well hire his dumbass.
Oh my god. I just thought about it. He did put an episode of Doctor Who with dinosaurs in it. They had that whiteboard that said, "Hey, dinosaurs, it all makes sense now. Get my foil hat on."
Cold Fusion Waffle says Klingons are the aliens who got their asses kicked so hard their spines ended up in their foreheads, right? Wait, did Klingons in Discovery fall out of an ugly tree hitting every branch? No, the Klingons in Discovery were literally shat out of somebody's ass. That's why they look like shit.
What do you mean, the Lord of the Rings goblins that were in space?
Oh,
I mean, they really let
those
them make that-
motherfuckers are not stylish enough to be Urukai. And that's considering the Urukai have no fucking style.
Well, you want something funny? Here's a really basic one. I'd only seen parts of the Star Trek, the original series.
Mm-hmm.
So when I saw Next Generation, I had no idea that the Space Mongolians.
That was some shit, though. Like, if you had seen the original series, and the first time you see the Klingons in TNG, you could legit be like, wait, what?
I was very confused. I was
They weren't like space Russians anymore. They were like space honor warrior dudes all of a sudden.
It was fucking weird, admittedly.
So as a person who didn't know much about it, I'm like, this is odd.
General.
I'm like, I don't understand what they're doing.
Ambassador. It's a damn fool decision.
But my God,
Thank you, Lady.
the problem with a lot of these personal interest right now is that it's tied up into this kind of geek chic fad element. And to try to give some encouragement, like every fad, it will go away. It's just some take longer than others. Because I remember when hammer pants were popular.
Oh, Jesus.
I also remember when Vanilla.
in late 1989.
I also remember when Vanilla Ice was popular.
Again, for about a 6-month period in early 1990.
Oh,
Ice baby.
Phoenix, I'm not even going to repeat that one.
It's not a knockoff of MC Hammer.
Oh.
Sorry. Oh man.
It's not MC Hammer deserves any respect at all.
Well, I give him respect where he's just like, I'm a one-hit wonder. I'm gonna blow all of my money in one night. I'll give him that. The religious rap after that just kind of confused me. I'm like, MC Hammer still doing stuff? And it's like, whoa, this is weird. This is like Christian rock.
Little Ice is apparently a fairly successful house.
Oh my God, how did I miss this before? She just fucking more or less quoted Colonel Ratchek from fucking Starship Troopers.
Yeah?
What was that?
Elmora's Soulkeeper gives the speech that Lieutenant Ratchek gives to Rico when he first joins his fucking unit.
You don't want to live forever.
But no, it's like the one where I'm in charge here until I die or they find someone better.
Yeah. Thus cementing Elmora's status is just this incredible badass.
Oh, you can't complain about
Not
that.
yesterday that matters to me.
But,
Understood.
Oh, Lord.
I'll tell you,
Revan says, she said to me a while ago, who's the fastest speedster? I started to explain different speedsters and the connections. Then she said, no, it's Barry Allen because the TV show, i.e. the stupid one that is failing utterly, cue external screaming. The one that doesn't even know who Barry Allen is because they can't write him properly.
well, I understand this feeling. I also understand the intense shame of being a DC fan. So, I remember when people were freaking out because of the Flash series, which I'm pretty sure she got most of her information from that, but the wiki version of it. When most people were like, oh my God, here's pictures of Mark Hamill dressed in purple. He's gonna play the Joker. And he was playing the trickster. Yeah. And then that sense of shame that I knew who the trickster was.
Well, somebody was bound to eventually, I mean.
And that I knew that DC has this stupid thing where various people will have a name and they'll be like, the Trickster 2. Because they number them.
Because, you know,
unless they're the Flash.
Abso-fucking-lutely do that.
Because this is just extremely original stuff.
Because it's DC, and even they were like, we've made so many versions of characters, let's just try to make something that makes sense. Unlike the Snyder Cut.
Are you suggesting that DC Comics has ever made something that made sense?
Well, once upon a time, it was at least had some fucking consistency.
In the 80s. It had a really good universe. Also, I would have made the argument that before Iron Man, they had the most consistent, well, basically the best organization to their world and the most cultural awareness. And then they blew all of that
Yeah.
and then tried to force it with the Justice League. I would definitely make the argument that Zack Snyder was the worst person to put in charge of that.
I don't think
Because
they ever.
Literally, the only reason that Zack Snyder got put in charge of that was because he was the dude back in like 2010 ish.
Yeah, because he
the only
did.
reason
Because he did fucking
I-
Watchmen.
I'm even more derogatory than that. One reason he got that job was his wife.
Well, yeah,
and her
there's
ties
that
to a
too.
very particular German advertising company that had a lot of influence with Warner Brothers. Not that the man had made anything original that didn't have a book already to tell him how to make it before then.
Nah.
Yeah, considering
But-
300 is a comic book movie.
We're gonna be going
But,
through this portal over here.
This one that I'm looking at.
Yeah, waiting
Alright.
on party member number 3.
But I would make the argument, even if you like Zack Snyder and yada yada, the tone he strikes is definitely not consistent
It's
with
super
general-
wrong for the Justice League, which is supposed to be a very heroic, save the world kind of group.
Well,
If you
this
look
is,
at how the cartoons are set up, like the Justice League cartoon,
Yeah.
yeah, that was a good.
completely at odds.
And this is a major thing that I've had the problem with is people that think, oh, Marvel's this way. DC and Marvel have had a very different style to them. DC for the longest time was the very family friendly, very super heroic.
Yeah, Marvel was
of
always the
the
edgy
two.
one, right? At
And
least-
Marvel
Yeah.
became the edgy one in the 80s.
Yep.
And then the secondary problem was that DC then got confused in tone because of the popularity of the Watchmen, which was a derivative of DC's works.
Yeah.
Because if you know anything about the Watchmen, you know that the two damn hacks that wrote it only basically wrote it because DC said, well, we'll publish the work, but you can't use the Justice League for it.
Yeah.
And that later inspired DC, because it sold really well, to then do a similar style story with the Justice League, and therefore screwing
Fuck up every
The-
fucking thing.
entire tone that DC Comics has.
And
this
DC,
is
in
why-
my opinion, has never and will never recover from that.
well, they're incapable of recovering. They must everything up. Warner Brothers has never been a positive. It's only kept DC on life support.
Yeah.
And love him or hate him, Zack Snyder was the worst person. When I can literally say that
Everything Zack Snyder has ever done has been too dark, too gritty, and too fucking just generally, like, unnecessarily grim to have the Justice League's name on it.
he should have done, and I don't even like him, so don't mistake this, but he should have done an X-Men movie.
Yeah,
His
Yeah,
style is
at least that would have
inconsistent.
worked better, yeah.
Like,
yeah, he would have been better for that.
Days of Future Past had his name written all over it.
And yeah,
I believe-
you know what, Revan? Exactly. Thank you. Even in the comics, the Justice League at times had brought in gods who were evil and rehabilitated them. In the comics, Flash saved his villains and got them mental help, and Batman fed the homeless. Yeah, that's the kind of shit we're talking about.
Well, also, when I was a kid, Batman was still a detective who didn't just punch everyone's face into a perfectly flat surface. Also, Wonder Woman also rehabilitated a lot of her opponents as
Yeah.
well. There was a vastly different tone. And it's a tone that I think you grow to appreciate as you get older. Because a lot of the edgy stuff kind of loses its appeal, or at least it doesn't hold the same kind of glow in your heart. and you kind of want something better for your kids. So I'd feel way better with my kid reading a 70s era Superman than a modern or even 90s era Marvel comic, let alone damn Image. Oh yes, I want to feed my children bleak, nihilistic murder porn.
Well, I think a lot of this ties into how the comics industry has kept on beating on the same customers. It's basically just squeezing blood out of the stone.
God, yeah.
And that even ties further into the going to a direct market with the comics shops and cutting out the wider market. Because, again, when I was a kid, and I know this makes me sound...
Holy shit, CSA, which above comment? We had a whole bunch.
But I used to be able to go to a newsstand or a 7-Eleven and buy a cheap comic book right off the damn shelf.
Oh, yeah. Well, you could get them off gas stations, truck stops, grocery stores. They were everywhere.
They were accessible, easy, and, I mean, you could mow a couple of yards and get a few comics, a pop, and a candy bar.
I mean, back in the day, I knew several fucking guys who were long-haul truck drivers. They'd be like, oh, yeah, it's great. I could pick up, like, 4 or 5 comics at, like, the fucking truck stop, and I could read that shit while I'm, like, in between fucking drives and shit.
Yeah.
So, and, like, when you look at the numbers of what Spider-Man did back in the early 80s compared to now, and it's ridiculous. Like, one issue of Spider-Man used to pull in 300,000.
This way, guys.
Yeah.
And then now you're looking at...
Given the cultural cachet of comics these days, I mean, there's no reason why Batman, Spider-Man, whatever, those shouldn't be selling a million. Those should be selling 1 million comics.
Yeah, you'd
Exactly.
think, right?
And to quote Zach, our boy Zach, why are these comics not being sold wider? Why are they not getting sales in a market primed to sell people these things? And I'd say, well,
It's because they're not writing them, for one thing. They're not writing the right stories.
Well, it's even a wider problem. They're too expensive, so you're going to start justifying to a kid that they need to spend $5 on a less than 20-page pamphlet.
Yeah, well, I was going to say, the quality is an issue, too, for the price.
Of poor artwork, poor writing, and then you're going to, as Marvel Comics dishonestly does, expect a kid to buy several other comics to understand the storyline, and by the time you get done with that, you got a part of a console you can purchase for that price.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or at the very least, a video game.
Yep.
And, okay.
And then
so
you
now
have a complete fucking narrative, too, most of the time.
And then you can look at manga and go, okay, well, for $10 to $20, I get a complete story.
You can buy like a phone book worth of manga.
Oh, hold up.
And then you can get a subscription and read like almost unlimited, and good luck reading that much. So I find it frustrating, and it's because of the stupid management of these companies.
Oh, absolutely.
Trying to corner their markets. The least amount of work possible. And
It's the behavior of people who think they don't have competition.
Yeah,
Exactly.
exactly.
oh, I don't have to compete. The idiots I have to come to where I want them, and it doesn't matter.
And it
And
don't
it doesn't matter
fucking
if it
work
doesn't
that way,
sell.
assholes, because guess what? Comics have gone to such shit that even if that were the case, nobody would care.
Let me just put it this way, okay? American comics is so bad that American fans literally learn to fucking read backwards.
That's just fucking true, yeah. Because a lot of those manga
Oh,
are
yeah.
still printed backwards. And the other thing is, like, the rise of Kickstarter and, crowdfunding has made it where indie comics are a very viable market now for people who want to read American comics. Real American comics.
Well, you're opening up a market. But, I mean, so for example, the local store here.
Mm-hmm.
Like when you look at the local area, there are no other real comic shops.
Not for a long ways, no.
And this has a lot to do with, of course, the lockdown did a lot of a negative impact, but it's a depleting market. It's people my age or older. I don't see kids when I go to these stores. And I'm not exactly going like, when the kids are in bed or at school.
Yeah.
I'm going during times that you should see kids.
Mm-hmm.
I don't see kids there.
No.
Well, and other things like why would you, as a child, want to go into a modern comic shop? Right? It's gonna be a very intimidating experience for any kid.
Well, a lot of times
Not to mention there's probably some freaking creepers who hang out there.
Well, it's out of the way. Like my shop, it's very nice. It's got a lot of nicer older people and then some younger people in it. It's just the problem ends up being this. One, it's not a casual purchase that they can see just anywhere they go.
Yeah.
So they're not getting exposure. Two, it's expensive to buy one comic, and then you're probably going to buy it in the middle of a run, if not a run that's going to get reset in an issue anyways.
Yeah.
So the kid's going to have to make some serious choices, and it's not a casual purchase to mom anymore. And two, they have to go out of their way in a lot of cases to go to these comic shops. Or that's three.
I'd almost call it an experience like walking into like a military surplus store or something. It's
dear
it's
God.
a much older clientele. It's a very niche thing.
It's people already purchasing.
Yeah.
In a lot
People
of
are already, deeply invested in something. It's like, almost like walking into a gun store.
Well, yeah.
Yeah.
Until recently, and even the local gun store here, there's tons of people constantly being in process to start purchasing guns. It's just it's a fact that a lot of the people aren't being exposed to this. So a lot of kids are like, okay, well, I can convince mom to buy me one issue that I'll have no concept of what else is going on. Or I can beg her to buy this video game that I can find in most of the stores.
Mm-hmm.
And from a purchasing standpoint, that's a problem. Because you're not going to just be casually in a 7-Eleven and see a comic anymore. Because that's how it used to be. And it's like, they were cheap when I was a kid, too. So it would be one of those things like, oh, God, okay, well, we're going to be out a while, so, yeah, you can get that, whatever. Or you could even buy it out of pocket change you might have as a kid. So we have a trend of inaccessibility and just stupidity on these.
Oh, CFW, I'm sorry. Cold Fusion Waffles said... Well, first let's start with Revan. Here I was in a comic store. There was kids there buying manga. One guy was helping his daughter get her first manga, and she picked what looked like card captors. Yeah, that's happening a lot in comic stores.
I can talk about that in a minute.
We will in just a sec. CFW says, Excalibur Comics, a place I used to love in PDX, is a rotting corpse that's filled with neon-haired psychopaths. I avoid gaming and hobby shops to avoid that. Now, thankfully, out here where we're at, that's not such an issue. We get a lot of pretty down-to-earth people at our comic and hobby shop down here, but that might be because we live in...
It's inconvenient to get to.
Yeah, it's inconvenient to get to, and we live in Texas, so... The few that are out here tend to be very concentrated in certain areas.
Was there any others?
No, that was the last comment. Go ahead.
Well, I can say this. Even on the place that I go to, the manga section is the only section growing.
I mean, that and the back issue comics.
And I'd say even the back issues aren't growing that much.
Not much, but yeah.
The secondary thing that's growing, and this
oh shit,
this is either funny to people or not, but it's models and collectibles.
Oh yeah.
So it's
action figures, model ships, gunpla,
or Oh, geez.
That and they sell a fair amount of like those RPG miniatures and board games and shit.
Yeah. It's not comics growing in
No.
the comic shop. It is,
It's because they're slowly branching out into a full-on hobby shop that just kind of carries comics.
because comics aren't doing it.
Exactly.
And that's because your market's drying up. And yeah, I would make the argument that as that dries up, so probably around the time I'm completely on my deathbed, the old like Superman #1 or Spider-Man #1 will basically be next to worthless.
Uh-oh.
Because
Got another comment. Forbidden Planet has... Oh, excuse me. Here comics are in bookstores, train stations, bus stations, and nerd stores. Average price $10.99. That's, considering the difference in currency. Forbidden Planet has a guy with neon green hair and he has a rainbow tattoo. He's anti-SJW. The rainbow is God's promise and he loves wild-colored hair and hates what's becoming of the industry. Then that's a good motherfucker to have in a shop like that.
so he's old punk, huh?
Yeah, it looks that way.
Are you in France?
Jesus Christ. No, he's in fucking Ireland. You know where he's at.
Okay.
Fucking
I mean it in a
France.
jokey manner. One of the best
Portal.
places for comics is France, oddly enough.
Oh, yeah. French comics they're getting out there.
It's a very different market, though.
No shit.
So there was another comic?
No, that was the last one I got so far.
Okay. It's just... It is sad, and it's partly the fans to blame in this.
Did we lose the AW?
Well, I went back to Snow and Brooks to keep on doing map information.
Oh, okay.
Because you guys were talking.
Um,
I can run that down though.
but I would definitely say it's partly the fans' fault. Because we didn't really give any pushback.
Well, I mean...
Kind of hard to give pushback at the time.
Well, at times, because they weren't listening to nobody, but I don't know.
Although, like, God, I mean, how... Like, Joe Quesada has been fucking up Marvel since the 1980s.
Well, I mean, even before that, because you have to think that the transition had started even before then. When it came to the preferring the direct market over the other. And it's obviously one of the reasons that they also shrank. It's like you can see as soon as they went direct market, there was a shrinkage of the customer base. But I think it's because a lot of the people who were really into it were okay with it shrinking. So they never gave any degree of pushback to the comic shops, which would have affected Marvel at that time especially.
I mean, I can't say much because at the time, I didn't really have much of an opportunity to read comics. I was kind of in a shit situation.
We have to remember that in the 90s, Marvel nearly went belly up.
Yeah. I'm just saying, like, I can't speak to that so much because I was dealing with a lot of shit in the 90s.
And that's not to, like, beat anyone over the head, again. It's just that a lot of people were happy. A lot of the people that didn't really care, they were going to comic shops anyways. They were already invested.
This is true.
It's the person that would go to 7-Eleven and buy a Spider-Man comic.
Yeah.
So you watched as Marvel, to spite its face, cut out the casual customer. And they've only continued to double down on that until the point where it's a joke how small these freaking runs are.
Very much so.
Well, I mean, like, some of these runs are, 10,000 copies or so. I mean, this is stuff that indies with no nothing behind them can start approaching. Right?
And you know what the sadder part of that is? These are runs of this many that they're not even selling as many of them as they like to say. It's because they're selling them to the comic shops because only comic shops get this shit now. And the comic shops can't sell all of them half the time.
Well, let's see. What was that one, oh, God. That one, X-Men storyline, the one with the swords.
Oh God, I don't know anymore.
It's one where everybody had a sword for some reason. There were piles as thick as my arm is long.
Very
On the
funny,
shelf.
Revan.
I'm not going there, Evan.
I mean, also, this is the comics industry's laughable. Some of the laughable business decisions they made, like, oh, we're gonna go print just a whole bunch of number ones. Okay. You want to know why Superman #1, like the real Superman #1, is valuable?
Because that was a newsprint. And anyone who's ever read a newsprint comic understands that that's fragile as hell.
No fucking
And a
kidding.
lot of people read them and didn't put them away and were like, this will never be worth anything. So the ones that survived basically just kind of got shoved aside.
Yeah, it's the ones that, like, well, first of all, most issues of Superman #1 that got printed got thrown in the 1930s. Got, like, actually, because it was like 1935, probably got used to, like, start the fire at the Hooverville.
Thank you, Hoover. You're #1 in my book. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like,
But
it's like starting the fire in, like, the Civilian Conservation Corps camp. Like, shit, it's like 20 degrees outside.
well, I can't blame any of those people. Because it wasn't for a long time that was worse.
I'm not reading that comment, Revan. Cold Fusion Waffle says, soon comics will only be zines sold out of a van at the back of the Motel 6, 3 blocks away from the convention center. Yeah, maybe.
I'll tell you exactly what comics would be. The rare reprint that is mostly done because there's a movie that might be once the comics movies rebound in 50 years, reprinted to get interest back in it because people will culturally have no freaking clue who half these characters that we know today are. Because they'll be basically wiped from nearly all living memory. Just like the old Superman comics that Warner Brothers will not put into reprints.
Yeah.
Because they don't want people to read them. Because it offends their sensibilities.
Oh, and it hurts their ongoing narratives.
And the greater point will be, where will their market be?
Mm-hmm.
Once the direct market fails even further than it is now, there will be no comics, really, outside of, a very few people who are privately publishing. So you'll have Archie, but you have to think that the Archie comic guys, their plan was basically to put Archie everywhere, which is a complete different strategy than Marvel or DC or a lot of the, or even Image. Let's use Image as an example here. So you can find an Archie comic in almost every freaking cash out you can imagine.
Yeah, that's why Archie still exists in the modern day, despite being, if Archie had adopted the DC Marvel business model, they would have died.
Exactly.
Yeah.
They would have died.
And that is ultimately where Marvel and DC are headed. They're going to rely on someone like me that cared, who is an ever-dwindling marketplace over time, to be the person that actually values any of this. And by the time my grandkids are around, they'll be like, what stupid thing is Grandpa into? He's always talking about some dude in a blue costume jumping around.
Let's see. Revan says, I've seen original series, Next Generation, and DS9 figures and ships fly off the shelves here, but STD, the green-haired guy was listing, and I asked him, how many have you sold? He said, Trek fans don't buy STD, and that's entirely true.
Whoa.
CFW says, so my Weapon X reprint hardcover, maybe that was a little mean. It was printed right before Marvel went full psychopath.
Hold on to it.
Yeah, maybe hold on to that.
Yeah, that might go up in value later.
It'll go up in value, and I'll guarantee you, even if the Marvel Comics just kind of goes away into a IP holding company, it'll hold value as a even more so. It holds value as an oddity.
Meh.
So, especially a lot of books, especially if it's a hardcover, hold value in a different way than a softcover will do in a lot of cases. Because remember, with comics, especially number ones, it's the value the market places on it more so than the actual intrinsic value of it. Same with money, but it's a little bit more of a hyper-specific way of looking at it.
Oh, it's this sergeant again.
That girl, huh?
Who are you people? Commander
But,
Sanderson didn't mention an escort.
the funny thing is that I can go into the Target locally here, and they have, if I remember what they're called right, they have salt vampires on the shelf.
Yes, they actually have action figures of the Salt Vampire from the original Trek.
I have watched those sell better than the Shang-Chi action toys.
A one fucking shot monster from original Trek is selling better than Shang-Chi figures.
Done in an old-ass Kenner version of an action figure.
Yep.
To get this message to the minister.
Has sold better than the entire Marvel section at my local Target.
And that's never mind that all of the other original Trek figures they had sold out completely.
Fine.
Yeah.
Just don't touch it.
They've sold out all their Puppet Master action figures. Gremlins are selling. All kinds of like old school shit has been selling off their shelves just locally, while a lot of this new shit just sits there.
Yeah, they have a section that's growing, and the reason I know it exists is because I go and because I'm a weirdo, and I look at the record collection because they have records.
Yeah,
there.
they got vinyls there.
Yep,
Dude, I just got a vinyl record of Johnny Cash today. I'm not upset about that.
I have a vinyl of Queen, so meh. But it's funny because this aisle just kind of suddenly appeared, and it has had more consistent restocking issues than the large Marvel action figure aisle that's
And this is
that
like
they're directly across.
And this is just this weird action figure aisle. It's got everything from like Godzilla action figures to like old school slasher movie action figures, Star Trek,
Puppet
Gundam,
Master.
Puppet Master, Gremlins, weird little action figures of like Stan Lee and rock stars and shit. And that stuff is having to get restocked way more often.
You know what actually just occurred to me?
What's up?
Is like, considering all the just consistent stocking issues that Hasbro has, like a lot of toys, like collector-centric toys have, they're never in stock when they should be. It's like, is this like some low-key like socialist thing that's happening?
Okay, hold on a minute. Maybe. Hold on a minute. Okay.
I would say it's something more inclined to this. So, let's say you work at Mattel, Hasbro, whatever.
I'll get to those comments once he's done.
The thing you want to tell your boss, if you've ever worked in a corporation, is, look, boss, X sold out completely. There is no incentive for these companies to produce larger amounts than they know will sell instantly.
Yeah.
So a lot of the shortages are artificially produced by these corporations short producing something to ensure it sells out so they don't have to waste warehouse space or risk pissing off the
As it looks better to the
chain.
investors when they sell off everything too.
Also, a lot of these people are complete cowards that want to suck their boss off to get a promotion.
Now that aside,
So what you're
do
saying is it's central planning at work here.
probably. I don't know.
In a less, let's put sand in it to get it to be the weight, in more of a, I want my boss to give me a promotion and to not yell at me way, kinda.
So your average soy boy
It's
middle
certainly
management type.
It's certainly a failure of the capitalist model because they're doing production decisions based on, not based on how much money they'll make, but based on how much favor they can curry with the bureaucracy.
Well,
Which is indistinguishable from.
part of
Okay, Revan, no. I'm 41 fucking years old, motherfucker. I was not around when Johnny Cash was 4 years old.
Okay. Part of it is I'd say it's large corporations that have become so risk adverse that they're just willing to short in people.
Revan gave an example. He said, I want to get the Darksaber, but they have limited stock due to artificial shortage. Baby Yoda, they claim to not have made any stuff, but of course they did. Then they drove the demand, which is exactly what you're talking about.
Oh my god, the shelves here with Baby Yoda are overstocked.
Yeah, nobody's buying that shit here. They're every fucking where now. Because the fad is over.
Now, I wish you would have... we would have known that you wanted the Darksaber, because for a very long time it was overstocked here.
Yeah, for a little,
just not selling.
Yeah, for a little while they had a whole bunch. I don't see them anymore. They might have either put them back up or finally sold them. I don't know.
I can see it in the dead eyes of the Target employees who have to.
I'm gonna tell you,
freaking aisles.
I'll say, yeah, the guys in the toy department at this Target, I feel like they really got it the worst, because they're having, on one hand, they're having to constantly wait and explain the understock of stuff like the Masters of the Universe origin figures. At the same time, they're having to stock these stupid Masters of the Universe Revelations figures that aren't selling. They're having to explain why they can't get like stock of the G.I. Joe and Ghostbusters action figures back in, but they got all this Fortnite bullshit that just sits there on the shelves for fucking ever.
I'd also blame.
Who's gonna buy a Fortnite action figure?
I don't know, but they're fucking everywhere.
I've seen
this might be the most corporate decision ever made. Let's make Fortnite action.
We fucked up.
We did?
Yeah, we gotta go find the sergeant. You gotta bring her back here, dude.
Oh shit! Did you? Yeah, you have to. She won't move unless we're close.
Yeah, I gotta go back.
I can't get her to move.
Somebody who is as angry about being escorted as she is, she's remarkable.
She doesn't want you to know she likes being escorted. There you go.
Oh, this dude got wrecked.
She's really
part of it I'd also blame, and I can't remember, is some of these
holy shit
corporations also have direct marketing.
Mm-hmm.
So, was it like Hasbro Direct?
I think so.
Hasbro Pulse.
Yeah.
Well, if you want to hear something hilarious, I found out by complete fucking accident. So you know how there's certain NECA figures that it's really hard to get on like normal marketplaces, like Big Bad Toy Store.
Yeah.
I know you'd heard about that some AW.
Yeah.
Well, I found out that they have a fucking eBay page. NECA themselves has an eBay page that they keep apparently a specific amount of stock set aside for. I gotta figure out where the hell she was at. We gotta go back the other way. Because I was having trouble finding some of those Puppet Master figures because my mom wanted a set for herself, right?
Yeah.
And I'm just sticking around on eBay to see if I can find any there by luck. And I find the official NECA eBay page where they have a bunch of stuff I was having trouble getting at the regular stores.
Come to where I am on the map.
Okay, is that where she's at?
Yeah, I'm staring at it.
Alright, I'm on my way.
For you.
What was that?
I said they should have like a shield icon for you.
Yeah, I just, it wasn't showing up on my mini-map for some reason.
But yeah,
Just telling you where you need to tip your fedora at.
oh god.
No.
Unfortunately, I've actually known people like that in real life.
Fucking
Lady.
what?
I'm going to White Knight because she definitely won't sleep with me, but if I keep trying, it's like, dude, stop.
It's like Charles, but with less common sense some fucking how.
It's a meme that's true.
F in the chat for whoever the hell this guy is.
Oh, you've heard about him before.
I'm sure I have.
He's the guy that I told you about that camping trip with who walked into the river.
That fucking dude.
Yeah, that dude. This dude straight, for some reason, this dude straight thought he was Casanova.
Yeah, most people who think they're smooth like that, they're not smooth.
Where's
Usually
your
most people who think they're smooth like that are like about.
This is the same dude. This is the same dude who thought because I was flirting with that waitress, who we were just flirting for fun because she didn't have nobody else to talk to, that he had a chance with her. She was a fucking lesbian. We just did that shit because it was amusing to us to do so. I knew she was a fucking lesbian. She knew I knew it. But Charles just could not get that shit out of his head.
Most people like that are about one bad night away from the district attorney hearing about him.
It's okay. He was trying out to be a cop.
Yeah, that didn't work.
Yeah,
I don't know if it didn't. I'm just gonna say that. It doesn't mean much, considering I know what that police department was like.
Oh, you got a fucking point. I think Rose retired by then, didn't she?
Moved on, my son.
She's the only one I even remember.
Oh, because the rest are in prison.
I'd be nervous that you guys at one point knew the local cops by name.
Well, we kept getting pulled over and shit, and also, to be fair, Officer Rose was probably one of the most attractive women in the county.
I also made a lot of bad choices when I was young.
Oh no. It's Officer Rose. Oh no, looks like we're speeding again.
Oh, he did do shit like that to the point that at one point after I left, he got picked up for some shit that was completely stupid again, like there's something he didn't do. And she sees him and she actually tells them to just release him.
Let's just say they mixed me up with a 6-foot-tall black guy. It was funny.
That's hard to do.
And it was
I'm like,
such a
I'm
thing.
officially black now.
It was such a thing with Josh flirting with her. It was such a thing with Josh flirting with her that, like, she saw him in the fucking office and she's like, get him out of here.
Let me just put it this way. The police there were so awful that they only looked at the name.
Oh, I'll get to those comments as soon as we get somewhere safe, Revan.
So wait, Josh, what you're saying is that you were racially
Hi, Rita.
profiled.
I was.
Yes, somehow.
Instead of being a freaking gangbang in human form.
Because it sounds to me like they essentially went out and got the white dude instead of the black dude because they didn't want to go pull in the black dude.
Oh no, this was just an issue with Junction City in general. Junction City was the little shit town right next to Fort Riley.
Oh my god.
And
Sir,
that place was not competently staffed in general.
The stupid was a reality.
That sounds like most base town police departments. I don't think you guys ever went to Lawton, Oklahoma, but let me just put it this way: the Lawton PD, that's pretty cut out.
My favorite part of my county jail experience was when they walked in and the prosecutor looked at me and he said, "Wait a minute, you're not black."
Let's see. Let me go back up here.
Yeah, son.
I got a bunch of comments here. Let's see. I'm gonna ignore that part. Somewhere there. No, Phoenix. That's terrible. That 5-pack I'm still waiting on is sold through Amazon and it's Construct 6 shop directly, so I might be dealing with that short run BS. My sister's friend, Revan said she went to an interview and was hit on, went to the cops, was hit on, went to a bank appointment, said the manager asked her out. When people saw her in real life, they said, wait, that's her? She looks like a bear hit her with a train.
Oh, I think I think this is really just LARPing with the idea of being sexually harassed constantly versus the reality of it.
Oh my god, I am so impressed with that bear.
Head for the Renegade's camp.
How did he do it though?
Also, that must have been an ugly choice.
That bear somehow managed to pick a train up and it hit someone with it. Not only was he coordinated, but that bear is strong. We need him in the World Wrestling Federation.
We do. What would his stage name be?
Grizzly.
Putin.
Bear Daddy.
Just name him Putin.
He comes out actually with Putin riding him shirtless, shooting guns. Considering that John Cena Rusoff one, it featured Rusoff riding in a armored vehicle that he couldn't fit in. I keep thinking, like, man, Vince does not understand that some people that have accents aren't Russian.
probably don't.
Vince doesn't understand a great fucking many things recently. Let's just be realistic about that.
We're just gonna do the plot to that one Rocky film, right?
Oh,
But they're not Russian.
no.
That's what it was.
I know. It's terrible.
Ugh.
Then the guy who's the all-American voice gets on his knees for China.
Ah, you fucking dipshit, Cena. I swear to fucking God. Like, talk about some shit, you just sit there and you're like, wait, what? The fuck?
Well, and this is a normal story from wrestling. Like, I can't remember his name. The Miz.
Yeah.
Or as a lot of people call him, Johnny Cage. He actually had a pretty good story behind him about how he worked his way up, and he was this really hard worker who struggled his entire life. And then Vince is like, I'm gonna make you a sleazy, cowardly asshole.
Oh, man. Fucking Vince McMahon. I swear, the motherfucker can ruin anything.
Have you seen the old pictures of him, like, biting sexually the freaking dumbbell?
McMahon, I'm not sure that I want to see that, but I believe it.
I was subjected to this image, and it, like, haunts me to this day. Because he has this wild-eyed look, and he's biting it, and you're like, what in the hell am I looking at?
Now, as connoisseurs of professional wrestling, because I've never been a connoisseur of professional wrestling, did Donald Trump ever fight Vince McMahon in the ring?
He suplexed him.
Did he?
Oh, yeah.
Nice.
He beat Vince McMahon up in his own ring.
That's amazing.
I think you can find it. I think one of the people who got in trouble because of stupid bullshit made a meme of him, like, suplexing CNN by putting the CNN logo over Vince McMahon's head.
Wow.
And then people got really weird about that for some reason.
Because people got no fucking sense of humor, that's why.
They wanted to whine about something, but yeah, I don't remember when that was, but it was funny. And also the fact that Donald Trump could manage that.
Yeah, the fact that he actually knew how to suplex someone.
Yeah, he did a good job. And I mean, despite like a lot of the problems with Vince McMahon, you gotta face it, the guy let people beat his ass a lot.
Wait, hold up. What do you mean, Revan, what do you mean she's in my DMs? What the fuck did you send me?
No, don't you dare. We don't need to see that.
Okay, where are we exiting this area?
You were asking about something about Vince McMahon?
Well, yeah, I was just saying, like, didn't Vince McMahon just have, like, a general practice of getting his ass beat, like, at WrestleMania every year?
I think Vince, for all of his business practices, one way or another, he really likes playing the villain, and to be fair, he understands that people want to see the villain get his ass kicked. So he provides people with that. It's just, I believe, if I remember what he said right, he said he wanted to leave the business originally because he was getting too old to be able to do those performances, and he didn't want people to think of him as being old.
Brother, you might want to actually meet me at the summit waypoint. Oh, there you are. Okay.
I'm coming.
All right, guys, I need to go step out and make dinner here for myself. Put some food.
All right, man. Yeah, I can't keep track of what time it is over there.
Be
You guys
good.
been going for a long time.
Yeah, it's only been about like 2 hours, I think. Hold
Like
on,
3
let's
hours.
double check. I don't know about 3.
Well, when I talk, I talk.
1 hour and 56 minutes live.
Really?
Yeah.
Cool.
It feels longer.
It does, yeah. Okay, we're gonna go this way.
So,
Yeah, I'm gonna dip out here as I do need to.
Hey, see you around, Revan. Hopefully you get some sleep, man.
enjoy your meal, man.
Yeah, well, this thing
And
easy.
sleep well.
Yeah, good streaming with you.
Hopefully Revan gets
Bye-bye.
some sleep. Well, if we got people starting to take off, we could probably cut it here, I guess.
I mean, I'm not gonna make you guys.
Oh, I know, but I also think
Yeah.
I think we're starting to wind down a little bit conversationally.
Yeah, my voice can only hold up for
Yeah,
so
he's
long.
not used to talking for long periods
Oh.
of time.
I will make a suggestion of a channel.
Go for it.
If people want to hear more about the toy market, a guy that's really good about it is Retro Blasting.
Oh yeah, I was actually just thinking about it. Retro Blasting does a really good job.
He covers a lot of it probably in more detail than I will. He's got a lot of interesting insights. I think he's also got some good content. So check him out, ladies and gentlemen.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, 'cause he really does the inside baseball.
Oh, yeah.
A level of insight into like toy collecting that. First of all, I have no desire whatsoever to like ever be in that world, but it's interesting stuff to hear about.
And working for Fortune 500 companies. Woof.
Whoa, yeah.
He can give you there's one of his videos that covers some of the sleazy practices, and it explains a lot of the inside baseball and the companies and why they do what they do.
Yeah, well, it's the result of just the corporate culture.
Oh yeah, which is
about blame passing and credit stealing.
Oh god, yeah. All right,
Yeah,
well,
like,
guys,
you know what,
I think with that said, and with some of you guys need to take off, go to sleep, eat, whatnot, we'll probably cut it here for the night. I appreciate you guys hanging out, coming, comment, and all that. It was good having you guys around for it. Hopefully, you guys at least got some entertainment out of our conversation.
Stop me droning on.
Hey, we all do that.
I just hope I was informative and to the point enough.
We do what we can, you know, we're into this stuff. It's why we pick the topics we do when we decide to randomly get together on these. It's a decent format for us to just fuck around on here so there's something going on visually while we talk about some shit. So,
And I want to stress that it's not a personal attack on anybody.
nah,
And,
we ain't got time for that
Take
shit.
us on out.
Alright, that's gonna be it, guys. Thanks for hanging out. We have one of our fellas who's normally here for these is Katala Loris. She's got a channel by the same name. Does a lot of Guild Wars stuff, and a lot of the time I'm on those, and so is AW, who was on with us earlier. So check those out. Potato
And by the
Revan.
Maiden's War.
By the Maiden's War novel on Amazon. Then we got Potato Revan, who just took off. He's got a channel, again, by the same name. And a lot of you are already there. If you're not and you watch this video, give him a look too. And that's going to be it for the night, folks. Everybody have a great one, and we're going to take off.
Bye-bye.